Hello and welcome to our week 12 live session today. I'm kidding, no waterworks this time, but welcome to our week 12 live session. It is the end of the term. We've been together on this 3-month journey. And as we told you guys during the first week, strap yourselves in because this thing is going to go super fast. And now here we are at the end. So a quick thing before we do get into the assignment or any questions or anything like that, please guys go ahead and fill out your end of course survey. I'm going to share my screen with you guys very quickly to show you guys where it's at. It is on a different part of the page. Normally it's at the very top, but now it's going to be right here where your week 12 is. So it's going to say Southeast Asia, and then your end of course survey is right here. It is something that's very important. It is optional, but please go ahead and fill it out. It is anonymous, so anything that you write, we don't know who it came from. We can see what was said, but that's huge. It's going to help us as instructors get better, and it's going to help us at Escoffier just better the program. Unfortunately, we're not the students, so we can only make the program for you guys. And if you feel that there's something that needs to be just a little bit better, maybe this recipe didn't work, maybe this week was just too expensive, how can we make it cheaper? Let us know. Or even if we did anything right, if you enjoyed me and Chef Catherine talking really fast during these live sessions, go ahead and put that out there. Whatever it is that you have to say about the program or the instructors, write it down there for us, please. Other than that, I don't think there's any other housekeeping on my end. Remember, guys, the assignment is due on Sunday. It is a short week, so we do have to make sure that we get that assignment in by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. CST. Remember, guys, do not leave this for last minute. Don't try to submit at 11:59 on Sunday and then the power goes out. There are countless things that can happen, and try to get it in by Saturday. Turn it in Saturday, have Sunday off, just call it a day. You do start your next live session on Wednesday. So check Monday and Tuesday to make sure that you're into that new class, because Wednesday you should be starting that live session. I'm not sure what time it's going to be. You'd have to go in and check. Some of them are at different times, but just know there is no break this time. We've all been on the same schedule where we finish a class, go into break. Not this time. And it was a little bit of a trip for me as well. I was like, perfect, I get a week off. No, you don't. Start right back again on Wednesday, unfortunately, is what they told me. But just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that. Chef Catherine, anything to add?
Yeah, just a few other things regarding this week's assignment. There are no knowledge checks, and there is also no final. So we're really just focusing. Actually, there is one knowledge check. Sorry, there is one knowledge check. There is no conversion check. My apology. But there's no final exam. So really focus your time knocking out that knowledge check and then focusing on this last week's of assignment. And like Chef Jerry said, just try to submit it, cook yourself a nice meal on Friday or Saturday, knock it out. And then you'll get those 3 extra days, right, to actually rest before the new class starts. So it's a good idea to approach it in that way. You come in with a clean plate. You're not scrambling, just feeling like you're tying up loose ends and running into the next class where you don't have time to prepare. Remember, preparation is everything, just like your mise en place. We also want to make sure that you're kicking butt in farm to table, right? Because otherwise, Chef Jerry and I are gonna get a mouthful from your chef instructors in farm to table. So make sure you make us proud, make yourself proud, right? Keep pushing every week. Challenge yourself in farm to table as well with presentations and reaching out and getting engaged. That's my best advice for moving forward, and any other little housekeeping things. Other than that, Chef.
All righty, let us just jump right into the assignment. We do have quite a region to cover this time. We are just clumping all of Southeast Asia together, which is very sad because each of these cuisines is so distinct, so unique, and so beautiful. We're going to talk about Thailand, and I do have a story for you guys that is absolutely horrible regarding their food. But we'll get into that right now after we cover the assignment. So let's jump right into it here. So this week, Southeast Asia, week 12, we're going to be making Thai green curry. We're going to be making pho. Despite the fact that it is an O, it is pronounced with a UH essentially at the end. It goes and then we're going to be making a nam pla prick, which is a simple sauce for the to kind of go together with these things. This week, remember, guys, I'm going to say it again. Assignment is due 11:59 p.m. CST on Sunday. Make sure that you go through your research material, watch the recipe videos. The recipes this week are just super straightforward, very simple. There's not much to it. It's just a little bit more of a relaxing week. Complete that knowledge check. There is no final, so you don't have to worry about the no 50 points, no 50 questions that you have to get done in under an hour. You turn in your assignment, you complete your knowledge check, and you go off about your day and just rest over the weekend. I do have it on every single one of these slides. As a quick reminder, everything is due on Sunday. But let's get into the first one. So right here we have the non-plot brick, which is going to yield about half a cup. What we're going to use is garlic cloves, which have been pasted. Somebody jump in real quick. Tell me how you make pasted garlic. What do you have to do to it?
Use the back of your knife.
Yes, sir. Jacob, thank you so much. Use the back of your knife and you just scrape it along your cutting board. Remember, guys, if you have a super fancy knife, do not do this with your beautiful knife. Try to use one that you just your everyday use knife, and you're just going to go ahead and just scrape it onto your board. If you add a little bit of salt to it, it does make it a lot easier, and you get this beautiful paste that just kind of comes apart completely. We're going to be using 3 bird's eye chilies or Thai chilies or Serrano chilies. If you can't find those, you should be able to find the Serrano. Those are readily available. Those guys are going to be minced up nice and small. And then really with this, it does say 3 each, but you can play with it as much as you want in terms of the heat level. If you want to make it a little bit less spicy, make sure that you remove the seeds, remove the stems on the inside, all of that good stuff. If you want it to be a little bit more spicy, go ahead and leave the veins in and the seeds in, and it's going to really give it a beautiful kick. 4 tablespoons of fish sauce. Be careful with this stuff, guys. I would add a little bit less and just kind of go a little bit more at a time. This stuff is super powerful. It has a very funky smell by itself. So for those of you that are like me, that just do not do well with anything that's super strong in terms of smell, like vinegars or fish sauce, this one's going to be very funky too. It's going to be very overpowering to smell, but it tastes great once it's mixed in with other things. I would urge you taste it by itself. It's not all that great, but once you mix it, you're going to see just how much it adds just this beautiful harmony to this sauce. 5 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 tablespoon of sugar. All we're going to do is just combine all of these things together, taste, season, and adjust as needed. You can make this one a day ahead, and it'll just concentrate all those flavors just a little bit more. And as like I said, any peppers will do. Just spice is really up to you as to what you want to do here. So this is basically what your mise en place is going to look like, and it just all comes together and looks like this. Super simple sauce here. We move to our pho. For this is something that traditionally it is going to be made with a bone broth, but we just don't have the time for that. So normally we do try to do as much scratch cooking as we can, but this week we're just going to go ahead and just cut that out and use beef stock, because you do not want your bones to be just sitting on your stovetop for 8+ hours. It takes a long time. If you want to go ahead and do it, please be my guest. It's going to give you just this massive depth of flavor, but we're going to go with beef stock. As always, unsalted or low sodium is preferred so that we can control that ourselves. Ginger that has been sliced with the peel on. We're going to use 2-inch piece, so just something about that big. Just go ahead and slice it up. 1 lemongrass. You're going to go ahead and smack that with the back of the knife just to bruise it up and release all those beautiful aromatics. 1 shallot that has been thinly sliced. 1 cinnamon stick. 1 ounce of fish sauce. And as you guys are looking at these ingredients here, what do they look like? We just used these things, right? We had them last week for a soup as well. So we're making another soup that's very similar.
Egg drop soup.
Yes, sir, LG, the egg drop soup. Very similar ingredients here. A lot of beautiful aromatics are going into this. So we're going to add salt as needed, as always. We're going to use 8 ounces of beef tenderloin or any other tender protein. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show my face here to you guys, because we can use chicken for this. If you don't eat beef or you don't eat pork, use chicken, but pre-cook the chicken. Please, 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 for the life of you, do not put raw chicken onto the noodles and try to add the broth on top. It is not going to cook all the way through, and you're going to be serving raw chicken. So you would pan sear your thin pieces of chicken, layer them on top, and then add the broth as if we were doing the same thing with the beef. The beef will cook, but somebody tell me, why can we eat beef that's a little bit undercooked and chicken that, and we can't do the same with chicken? What does chicken have that beef doesn't?
Salmonella.
Salmonella. So chicken needs to be cooked to 165. Beef, we can actually make a beef tartare and it tastes amazing, which is raw beef, but you cannot make a chicken tartare. Don't try it. So let's get back to it. Let me share my screen again. Again, guys, if you are using chicken, cook it ahead of time. Thinly slice it, sear it off, make sure it's cooked all the way through, and then you're going to place it on top like this, and you'll add your broth. We'll get to your question right now. I saw somebody's hand go up. Optional garnishes here. We do see that there's a lot on this bowl over here. You can do shallots that have been thinly sliced, bean sprouts. We can do fresh mint, cilantro, the Thai basil leaves, jalapeno that has been thinly sliced, limes that have been cut into wedges. All of those are optional though. What we're gonna do is we're gonna combine our broth, our ginger, our lemongrass, our shallots, and our cinnamon sticks in a pot, all the beautiful aromatics. Simmer those down for about 30 minutes, just releasing those flavors. We did the same thing with the olives where we had all of those beautiful things in the oil just over relatively low heat just to release all those flavors. We're going to go ahead and strain and discard all of the solids. We don't want any of that stuff anymore. It served its purpose. It goes in the trash. Next thing we're going to do is add our fish sauce, and we're going to taste and adjust the salt if necessary. Very important, if necessary. If you're using beef stock that is already seasoned, you want to be very cautious with this because that flavor is going to concentrate a little bit. The fish sauce is also a little bit salty. So make sure that we don't over season. If you want to get beautiful, super thin pieces of beef, you can partially freeze the meat to make it easier to slice. You're just going to go ahead and throw it into the freezer. Ideally, you can plastic wrap it so that you have that just super uniform piece. And as it begins to freeze, you can just go ahead and slice it into thinner pieces. Because if it's raw and it's thawed out, as you try to cut it, it's going to go a little bit flat on you. It's going to just kind of be a little bit more malleable. And we want these pieces to be as thin as possible because we're not going to be cooking the beef anywhere else. We're going to go ahead and add it to our bowl and then just ladle the hot liquid over the top. So we're going to go ahead and slice our beef into paper thin slices. Very important. We don't want to have half-inch pieces of beef over the top of these guys. Just before service, we'll drop the rice sticks into boiling water. Return the water to a boil and drain immediately. So these guys are going to cook very quickly. It is rice sticks. If you are using so with these guys, there are some different variations of it. Anything that says rice noodle on it is perfectly fine. Just be mindful of the thickness of them. If they're a little bit thicker, they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. If they're thinner, they are going to take a little bit less time. So we don't want these to turn rubbery or gummy or anything like that. We still want them to be just a tad bit al dente, very similar to pasta. But the rice stick cooks a lot quicker than pasta does. So we're going to go ahead and place all of our garnishes in a separate bowl and arrange it on the dining table. So the garnishes don't actually go on the plate. What this is it's a dish that you give it to somebody just plain and simple. All the aromatics and all the things are on the table, and then people plate it themselves. So they'll add what they want. They'll add their chili, they'll add their lime, they'll add their mint, their basil, all of that stuff. Now, we're going to place our rice noodles at the bottom of our soup bowl, and then we're going to arrange 2 ounces of beef slices over the top of that. Beautiful arrangement. And then what we're going to do is just ladle the broth on top of the beef slices. That's what's going to cook them. The boiling broth cooks the beef in moments, and then you would allow guests to help themselves with the garnishes here. So as always, you can add more aromatics like coriander, fennel, star anise, cardamom, whatever you want to your broth. Flavor it as you will. Really get that depth of flavor. The more aromatics go into it, the better. We're talking about a Chinese hot pot last week, and you can basically do the same thing with this, where the more you add to it, the more flavor you're going to get from it. Any questions here? Eric, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just had a question about the beef, right? How we cook the beef. So the water got to be real boiling then, right? To drop it on top, right? It has to be straight up boiling.
Yes. So I will show you pictures right now. Let me share my screen here with you guys. So this is what it should look like here. Here's your mise en place. Here's the beef that's thinly sliced. This is the garnish plate over here. So this stuff just goes onto the table as is over here. Now, we have the thinly sliced pieces of beef on top of our noodles here, and then you just ladle the sauce over the top of the beef, and that's what's going to cook it off.
So, because I'm tripping on if it's going to be cooked all the way through. So what should I be looking for? It'll turn brown, or will it still be pink, or what?
It should be brown. It should brown up. Oops, going a little bit ahead.
I'm going to just tap in here real quick, just to throw in some extra information. Remember, Eric, you're going to be in class. You're going to be slicing this super thin, so it's going to cook very quickly, right? And remember, beef. We order beef as well done, medium well, rare, medium rare. So even if it doesn't fully, I mean, it's going to start to go from, it's going to be that bright, beautiful red, right? When you place it and when it's raw and thinly sliced. Once you add that meat, right, that hot stock, it is going to start to turn brown. Now, if you put that on just on the top gently, it might just cook around the edges and not fully cook entirely, especially depending upon how thick you are. But remember, it's not a bad thing if you like medium rare meat to not have it fully cooked and tighten up. Remember when protein gets cooked really fast and really hard, it gets tightened up and it gets tough. right? Because this is a tender cut of meat. So we want to be caressing it. We don't want it to seize up and get tough on us. So think about that as well, that there's these textures that you'll see that the color is changing, and you'll know that it'll be safe to eat because it's so thin.
Oh, okay, and for sure, use tenderloin then, right?
You can use beef tenderloin. There are a variety of cuts that traditional Vietnamese people will use for their pho, for their tender cut of meat. But yeah, I would just go for a tenderloin if you can get that. Chef, any other suggestions for a different cut?
Not off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I think you just want to go with tenderloin. Also, oftentimes pho will have these other, as Chef Jerry mentioned, you're cooking this stock for hours, right? Infused with all these aromatics and all of those other beautiful pieces like tripe and tendons. For like a more elaborate pho, you're going to have tendons in there. You're going to have tripe. You're going to have this thinly sliced beef. You're also going to have some meatballs that have been formed as well, and then loaded up with all those garnishes that Chef Jerry was talking about, and especially bean sprouts. Extra heat, extra lime. So it wouldn't always just be a beef tenderloin. It would be other cuts of meat as well.
Excuse me.
Okay,
Does it come thin? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Does it come thinly cut like that?
You can find it at stores like that. If you're going to be looking for it, I would go to an Asian store. You'll see that Asian stores will have meat like this because of Korean barbecue and such. So you will find these little packages already super thinly sliced where they'll have like beef brisket would be another one that would be good. Normally brisket would have to be cooked for a very long time, but because of how thinly sliced it is, if you guys have ever had Korean barbecue, it's super tender and it falls apart very nicely. When again, it's super thinly sliced. That is the key thing to all of the tenderness here.
Alternatively, if you can't get it thinly sliced, what you want to do is get that nice piece of meat, wrap it in plastic wrap, throw that chunk of meat in the freezer, okay, for about 10 minutes, all right? Then it's going to have a little bit more structure, right? That meat is going to be firmed up a bit more, and you can slice it more easily. It's not going to break down as quickly. Also, make sure you're getting that knife really sharp right before executing. But putting that meat in the freezer will just firm it up a little bit more. It's not going to freeze it, but you're going to be able to get a lot thinner slices just because of the integrity of the meat.
Okay. Yeah, I got another question too. So I make chicken stock a lot, but I don't make beef stock, right? So are we just getting the can of beef stock from the store, right? Okay, and then we're gonna cook that for a couple hours. You said with the aromatics.
Normally, you would make a stock utilizing those bones and those extra aromatics, and that really gives. Remember. Think back to CU101. What does stock do? It releases collagen, gelatin. So you get this really thick, rich stock compared to the broth that you'll find. So you're not going to cook that for a bunch of hours. This is a really condensed, it's kind of a rapid fire pho on the fly. It's not going to have the same slow file. So you're not going to have to cook it for that long because you don't have raw bones that you're cooking.
Oh, so in the recipe, does it do the bones in there too, or is it just no? It's regular recipe.
Stock.
Okay.
Box of stock. Go to the store, get a box of stock.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah. All right.
Jeremy, go ahead. You're muted. Jeremy, you're muted.
Unmute. Okay.
Yeah.
So I sliced it up and then I just put it in there, and then I thought that the hot broth cooks the noodles. Is that what it does? If it cooks the noodles?
No. We want to cook the noodles ourselves. So let me share my screen with you over here. You can see right over here, the noodles are cooking in a separate container with water. Then we strain them. We put them already fully cooked with the meat on top, and then we'll ladle the thing on top. But the broth only cooks the meat.
Okay.
Yeah, so seems we had a little mistake this week. We'll take a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like I thought that would work. I thought that I did that, and I thought that would work.
Well, I'll be sure to review your assignment, let you know what went well, what went wrong, and we'll just kind of check in from there.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. I have my
Deborah,
hand
go
up.
ahead.
The meat, is it inappropriate to get it sliced at the deli?
Nope. You can do that. It's fine.
Thank you.
All right, now let us go into our last recipe over here, which is our green chicken curry. And we are doing all three of these, guys. So oil as needed. One thing I would tell you guys is be cautious with the amount of oil that you're using. These curry pastes are typically very oily already. And one thing that you notice if you reduce it too far down, like what happened with the mole, what other assignment was it? The bolognese, I think it happened to some people where the sauce just separates. You see that oil just come all the way to the surface. So if you over reduce this one and then you added too much oil, you'll see just this massive amount that just seeps outward. So be cautious of that. As you can see in this picture, this is done with this recipe. It is not super dry. So it's not like a traditional curry that's super thick. This recipe is going to be a little bit more loose. So for this, we're going to be using 1 4-ounce can of green curry paste. If you cannot find green, yellow works, red works, whatever type of curry paste that you can find, even if it doesn't say Thai on it or whatever it is, shoot for that. It'll be perfectly fine. We're going to use 1 15-ounce can of coconut milk. We're going to be using 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, 1 tablespoon of sugar, boneless, skinless chicken thigh. We're going to cut those into 1-inch cubes. So we want to go with chicken thighs this week because they're going to hold the moisture a lot better. Chicken breast will overcook and it's going to dry out and it's not going to be as flavorful. And then for this, we can cook rice. It's optional, but I would recommend it. It's going to pair very lovely, and you can see that the presentation is elevated here by the rice. It's also going to be something that takes on all that lovely flavor from the sauce here. And it'll give you just another shot at practicing rice. Rice is one of those things that I've told you guys plenty of times. It's so inconsistent. Even now to this day, I can make rice perfectly 9 out of 10 times. One time it's going to be too mushy, it's going to be a little bit undercooked, and I'm going to be super mad and I'm going to throw it at the wall. But it's so hard to cook rice consistently time and time again. Same thing with eggs. If you're making over medium eggs, eventually one of them, you're going to try to flip it and it's going to pop. It's just the nature of it. It's one of those things that you need so much practice. And that's what we talked about in the Japan assignment, where they don't let the Japan week, sorry, they don't let the people touch the rice until after about 8 years in that restaurant. Because it's something that is so temperamental and so key to their sushi. But what we're going to need for this, we're going to take a 4-quart saucepan. We're going to heat a little bit of oil over medium-high heat, add the curry paste, and cook it until it's nice and fragrant. After that, we're going to add the coconut milk and heat over medium-high heat. And we're going to cook, stirring about 10 minutes or so until the sauce thickens up. Be mindful, do not let this just sit. Coconut milk does have sugars in it, and it can scorch the bottom. So make sure that you're constantly stirring this around. Medium high is good. Do not just let it sit for 10 minutes and come back. Monitor it always. We're going to add our stock, our fish sauce, and our sugar. We're going to bring that up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it down to a simmer. Very quickly, guys, remember a boil goes blub, 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 and a simmer goes blub, 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 a little bit slower. We're going to go ahead and add our chicken. And we're going to cook the chicken in the sauce. We're going to continuously stir until the chicken is cooked all the way through, about 15 minutes. And mind you, we are putting raw chicken into this sauce, but if we are cutting it into 1-inch cubes, it should cook very quickly. So it shouldn't be that much of an issue. It should cook all the way through. We should be fine. And then we're going to taste and season with salt. Remove from the heat. We're going to ladle the chicken and sauce onto a serving bowl. We can garnish with some fresh basil, some sliced chilies, whatever you want. I want to challenge you guys this week. Don't just sprinkle some herbs over the top of it and call it a garnish. Try to do a little bit more. Whether we fan some chilies over the top, whether we chiffonade some basil beautifully over the top, whatever it is, really try to get creative with the plating this week. It's our final week. Let's just go above and beyond this week. And that's pretty much it. Super simple in terms of what we're doing. Any questions on these, Charisse? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like cooking rice. That's all.
You like the what, sorry?
I just gonna say I like cooking rice. That's all.
Yeah, me too. But so this is kind of the production that we're going to have here. We have our mise en place. Everything's already portioned out. We start off with the curry paste. We get that cooking down, and then our final product should look something like this. Again, it's not super thick. It's a little bit watery, and that's okay. If you do over reduce this, the oil is going to seep out of the curry paste, the oil that we used initially as well, and it's just going to give you a broken sauce. So here we have a couple of examples that we've gotten from previous students. Here we have some of the curry with a little bit of some basil over the top, some beautiful pieces of chili, the pho as well garnished. This person over here has all of their condiments on the side. This one has a lot of chiffonade bays over the top with some red peppers to add some spice to it. This one is a beautiful presentation of just half and half. Just some quick things here and some quick tips for you guys here. If you can't find Thai chilies, again, serranos will work perfectly fine. They are a little bit spicy, so do be mindful of that. Cooking curry paste is going to be very similar to cooking tomato paste. If you've ever tasted raw tomato paste, it has this kind of tinny taste from just being super concentrated. So you want to cook that out. And then we get to the naan pla prick. Condiment is just good to keep around. It has a wonderful flavor balance. And we can swap out the chilies for jalapenos if you're sensitive to heat. For the pho, be sure that your beef is fairly lean. We're relying on the hot broth to cook the beef, and lots of fat is not going to render out. It's going to give you these very rubbery pieces of meat. And again, freezing the beef, like Chef said, can firm up the fats, making it a little bit easier to cut thinly. So it'll really firm up the protein and just give you those beautiful, beautiful thin slices. And that is it for me. I think we're all set. I think everyone's ready to rock and roll on this assignment.
Yes, I think so as well. Just remember, guys, it's all about sourcing. Check out the different aisles. Look around if you have an Asian market. That's going to be your first best stop. I just want to pull up a few visuals of bottles of fish sauce that you might see commonly, so that you can identify it. So let me just pull this screen up, and then I'm going to hop into that history and get into some fun stuff here. But let's see, here we go. This is my personal favorite. It is not cheap, but it is the best fish sauce out there. It's Red Boat number 40, and it comes straight out of Vietnam, and the only ingredients are anchovies and salt, made in the traditional way of fish sauce. Oftentimes with other fish sauces, depending upon where you get your fish sauce, it'll be a little bit sweeter, or it'll have sugar in it, or some other additives. Squid brand is pretty commonly found in a lot of restaurants. Three Crabs is another one, which is right here, also fairly common. But you might find a small bottle of it in this brand, this Thai brand. If you don't want to buy a huge bottle, this one is usually about 6 ounces or something like that. The rest of them are, the other ones are like 24 ounces usually. That one not, but usually they come in pretty large format. So be on the lookout for those fish sauces that you want to look for. All right.
Hey, Chef, we just need plates of food right there.
What's that?
We ain't seen no bottles of fish sauce. All food.
What am I showing?
It's a food.
I didn't show. Sorry, let me pull this up. I thought I had that. Thanks for letting me know.
We
Sometimes
had some noodles up.
Well, that sounds about right. That's for later, guys. We're going to get hungry, right? Don't we like to get hungry? I'm about to get hungry right now. So this is the Red Boat that I love, that I was talking about. It's really beautiful. The fish sauce in general that's fairly common you'll find is squid or Three Crab, which is right here. So, you know, different, like I said, different Thai or Vietnamese fish sauces will have different levels of sugar based on, you know, just how soy sauce might be sweeter or more intense. Another brand that you can find that is a smaller bottle would be this one. This brand is pretty common. You'll also find this brand with the rice noodles as well. So just to have those visual cues sometimes help. All right. So if everybody is feeling good, no questions, ready to rock in. We've got, as Chef Jerry said, this is a huge region. So let's kick this off with getting a little visual on the map. And then we've got, excuse me.
COVID.
Yeah. Vaccinated. And already had it. So, you know, luckily it's not. All righty. So this is where I want to start us off here. Hopping in to the correct page. Here we have Southeast Asia. All right. Obviously, this is a map of a little bit more than Asia, but I want to give you the visual, right? Southeast Asia is really this region, right? South coming here, east is this direction, Asia's here. So that means Southeast is over here. Okay, this is the Southeast region. Here's another map of the Mekong River, all right, which is really important in the history, right? What do we know about rivers? What are they going to take down? They're going to allow for trade, right? This goes from China, the Mekong River Basin goes from all the way up in northern China down to Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and popping out down, right? As we can see, we've got Ho Chi Minh City right there, Vietnam and Thailand's right there. So the Mekong is a major thoroughfare for transportation of goods. So this is something to think about, all right? So again, we're hopping into that region right here. Just want to give you that visual. And let's start hopping into a little bit of history and then so many photos of food. I'm almost a little tempted to just show you some food photos right now because I'm so excited, but I'll try to hold back and get into some of this other information first. But I'll start throwing some photos in because we know we all love it. So let us first start here, right? Southeast Asia. When we break this down now in this group, we're also going to talk about Korea, which really, if we look at a map, is not in Southeast Asia, but it is included in our research for this week. So when we hop into this, remember, this area of the world, tons of sweet, sour, spicy, bitter, umami, right? Those flavor profiles that we also saw where last week's, right? In China and Japan, really hitting that balance of sweet and sour, a lot of use of acid, a lot of use of chilies. But again, what would we think about Asian food, Southeast Asian food? What would Southeast Asian food be without these chilies? Where did chilies come from? What do we think ancient cuisine in these regions looked like? Did it contain chilies? Right? This is something to be thinking about. When did that start becoming so popular? When did it get introduced to that region? Right? Again, just thinking about how flavor profiles change. We've got tomatoes all up in Italian cuisine. We've got a ton of chilies in Southeast Asian cuisine as well. So when we get into this, this is the Indian, basically east of the Indian subcontinent and south of China, as we showed, including not only Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, and then of course, a little bit of Singapore, which is archipelago of small islands, Indonesia, Philippines can also be included in here, Borneo and Brunei, all right? So as we mentioned, tons of different ports along this river. If you've ever seen that Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, where he's in Vietnam, if you haven't, guys, check it out. Anthony Bourdain, he's one of my, he's just was an incredibly talented chef and more importantly, writer and human in the sense of saying, let's break down all of these walls that we think about, right? With cuisine, that we're all people. Right? And to share food with one another, sharing food and having a drink, not necessarily alcoholic, but sharing a cup of tea, right? Starts to form bonds and it starts to break down barriers or misconceptions. This is the power of food. All right. So check his No Reservations out from that area. He travels down the Mekong River. It's incredible. He gets into some crazy stuff, but that's old Chef Bourdain for you. What do you say here? All right. So the population of Southeast Asia is about 600 million people, okay? And about a fifth of that lives on the island of Java, which is Indonesia alone. Indonesian cuisine, by the way, I have never been there, but I am dying to get my hands into that because Indonesia has this beautiful mix of all those curries, all of these flavor profiles, Indian cuisine mixed with Muslim culture. So you've got a higher concentration of beef and chicken. You don't have as much pork in there, but then you've got all this great Asian and Asian flavors as well. It's a really unique melting pot over there. Vibrant flavors, really rich culture and cuisine as well. Malaysia has some interesting wild facts. They've got one of the largest, a plant species with the largest leaves, which can go up to about 3 by 2 meters long. So 3 meters, that's 9 feet. 9 by 6 feet. That's, how tall is a 9-foot person, right? Now you want to think, we don't even know, right? Think about a 6-foot tall person, okay? That's the size of the leaf alone. All right, then double that pretty much, okay? So huge, berry jungle, tropical. Remember, we're in the tropical region, right? So we're gonna have a lot of beautiful fruits. We're gonna have that lemongrass. We're gonna have that ginger growing. We're gonna get a lot of those beautiful aromatics coming through, all right? Now we're going to hop into Korea. All right. I know we're jumping around, but before we go into Korea, I'm going to get you guys excited about a little bit of Korean cuisine, get some photos in here because sometimes you got to mix up some photos before we just keep talking about history. It gets a little heavy, right? So one of the best things and most known that I think everybody will have heard of, what is it? Kimchi, right? That beautiful fermented cabbage product. You guys If you haven't gotten your hands of it or on it or heard of it, check it out. You can really simply make this at home with some nice precautions because you are going to be you can ferment this, but it is traditionally made in pots underground so that you can have beautiful, nutritious food throughout the winter. All right, so here we are. This is what kimchi looks like. Kimchi traditionally is made with Napa cabbage. All right, that's that big old one that you see. It's not that tight-headed green cabbage. It's a lot larger and pale. All right, the secret with making good kimchi is having a little bit of Asian pear in there. That gives the sugar, which feeds off, creates more fermentation. It's spicy, it's full of probiotics. It's extremely healthy. The other thing to know is that kimchi doesn't only come in Napa cabbage form. You can get radish kimchi, green onion kimchi, mixed vegetable kimchi, right? It's a fermented product. It's a pickle. So you can really do that with pretty much any vegetable. This stuff is zingy. It's fiery. It's incredible. All right. Another beautiful thing that you'll find in Korean cuisine is banchan. All right. Banchan is amazing. It is an assortment of side dishes, everything from, sauteed spinach. Here's a little close up. Here we go. Sauteed spinach to sweet potatoes to daikon, preserved daikons, raw vegetables, seaweeds, potatoes, lotus flower, cured and fermented tofu or soybean sheets, a huge variety of these. And this will just come down when you're doing a good old Korean barbecue, right? And then you just get loaded up with anywhere between 2 and probably up to 24 different sides of banchan, depending upon the restaurant that you go. All of them offer different components. Some of them are going to be sweeter, some of them are going to be spicier, some are going to be saltier, and some of them are going to be more sour or bitter. Again, these are to play off those different notes, right? Again, hitting those flavor profiles. So banchan, beautiful. And I think I've got a photo of japchae up here, but I'm not sure. I might have lost it. But we've also got does anybody else know a traditional dish from Korea that you might have heard of?
Vladimir says bulgogi.
Bulgogi, excellent. What else? I'll pull up a picture of bulgogi. One of my favorites, I'm going to pull up these two and just show you, and then we're going to hop into a little bit more of South Korea. Any other ideas, class? Starts with a B, ends with a
Go
bop.
ahead.
Bibimbap.
Yeah, bibimbap, excellent. So this is your bulgogi. You can make, it's traditionally used with beef bulgogi, and it's grilled and it is gorgeous and it's savory and smoky and laced up with sesame oil, sesame seeds, soy sauce, garlic, ginger as a marinade, and then quickly heated on a scorching hot grill. Absolutely gorgeous. Another one, this is for bibimbap. For those of you who don't know what this looks like, let me just pull this up. Uh-oh, we're having a little problem here. My computer's not reading that I'm typing. All right, we're back in, guys. This is also another beautiful dish, similar to what you're gonna see from week 10. I wanna see if you guys see any similarities between this. This is a bowl of bibimbap, all right? What does this kind of remind you of? Week 10,
Sushi
Japan?
bowl.
Sushi bowl, bingo. And
Oh,
beneath
sushi
that bowl of all these goodies, the fried egg, oftentimes it's vegetarian and just have an assortment of vegetables. And underneath there is beautiful rice. All right, you crack that egg, you get all that yolk going in there. It's incredible. So let's hop back into some history and then go check out some more food in a minute. All right, so Korea, North Korea and South Korea, very big, different countries, right? I'm sure you've all heard about what's been going on in North Korea over the past few years, right? It is a very strict and heavily monitored country, large military presence. In South Korea, you've got about just over 51 million people. Seoul is the capital. And of course, as we know, what have we learned throughout all of these weeks? What has a big impact on the food that you're going to eat? What has that big impact on it? Is it the people? Is it where it's located? What is it?
Religion. Religion.
Religion
Right.
does have a big impact, but what else is going to really dictate, right? Because we could all be 10 different.
Oh, the climate. The climate.
Climate. There you go, Eric. That's what's going to make that biggest difference, right? What's growing? What's in that geography? Are we on the coast? Are we going to have a lot of fish? Are we going to have a lot of dried fish? Do we have mountains? Do we have goats, right? Do we have land for pigs to roam, right? Or cattle to graze? That's going to be a huge indicator of the cuisine. All right. So Korean cuisine goes from really hot and humid summers to extremely cold winters. All right. It's located in between China and Japan, right in that area. And there was a Japanese occupation from 1910 to 1945. What do we think that those dates sound like, right? What was going on then? History, culture, right? This is the beautiful thing about food and cuisine, guys. You can start to really learn more about history, because history can kind of be, it's not for everybody. Just like math is not for everybody, history through food can be a lot more exciting and engaging. So I hope you just kind of start connecting those dots, right? Moving in, there was also a large impact of European traders with the introduce of from Portugal of the chili peppers, all right, to Korea in the 17th century. By the 18th century, chili peppers they were going everywhere. Why? Because who doesn't like that heat, man? They got a taste of that capsaicin. Fire me up, give me some more. Let's start incorporating it, throwing it in, right? Starts modifying and changing a cuisine, just like we know tomatoes and peppers have modified and changed cuisines as well. All right. As far as Korea, they did not have a ton of area to grow rice. Okay. So they often ate barley, I believe. Barley and millet. All right. We showed you a picture of what millet looks like back when we were looking at when we were looking in Africa, a wonderful gluten-free grain, nutty and phenomenal. Now, some of the another thing, so we had a lot of rice being imported, all right, into Korea. Only the wealthy could afford it. So that's why their cuisine is really based on barley and millet, because the majority of people were eating those, not rice, okay? In the 1980s, some more modern technology came in, and they utilized irrigation streaming. So growing rice was more accessible. So now you can grow your own rice, have a better structure for it, and rice starts to become more prominent in that cuisine. All right. As far as a few more bits of etiquette regarding Korean dining, what you'll see is that it's not really a coursed out meal. They don't have that typical course 1, 2, 3, 4, just like French or Italian cuisine. Really, it's coming out in different times. As soon as that meat or the octopus or whatever's coming ready for that grill, it's coming out. As soon as that bowl of bibimbap is coming, it's coming out. The banchan are getting dropped down. Pretty much as soon as you're finishing one, another banchan might be dropped off, all right? As far as pretty much everybody will start off with a stew. There's some beautiful Korean stews as well as soups. And of course, as we mentioned, you're going to have a lot of family style dining as well. All right. We talked a bit about preservation, but just going a bit deeper into that. It is a huge component. Remember, if you don't have a lot of land, right, and you've got really cold winters, what do we know? Growing season is shorter, so we need to preserve. This is a huge factor. Again, dependent upon your climate, like Eric said, that's going to have a huge indication on your finished cuisine. Do you have a lot of fermented products, right? Where else do we see a lot of fermented products? Cold areas, right? Because we're fermenting that for later for the winter season when we don't have vegetables. So look at kimchi or banchan. You've got a great way to take all of the beautiful products that are growing in the summer, preserve them, and you're eating well and healthy throughout the winter. All right. So next up, let's talk about a few other things. I think that's about it for Korea. Yeah, I think we're good. I do want to just show you what japchae looks like, but I'll show you that at the end. Let's hop into Vietnam. All right, Vietnam. All right, Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. Obviously, Vietnam War, right? Huge thing. There's been a lot of war and turmoil in Vietnam. Okay. They share a border with China. Okay. So you had a lot of influence from Chinese culture into Vietnam as well. All right. There was the communist uprising, which led to, as I said, the Vietnam and American War, which caused, a lot of issues. However, independence finally came, and we are back in the business, right? which is great. Similar to Korea, lots of different occupations. Where do we know? Does anybody know what one of the biggest influences on Vietnamese cuisine is? Maria, I see your hand up.
That would be France.
Yes, bingo, Maria. So let's talk about that French influence. What do we see? We see baguettes. We see pate. What the heck are baguettes and pate doing over in Asia, right? Well, guess what? When we get a bunch of occupations, right? People come and take over. Well, the French people wanted their baguettes, right? So what do we have? We start to incorporate that in. One of the greatest dishes utilizing and highlighting that beautiful baguette is the infamous banh mi. All right, so here's a quick photo of that just to keep you guys getting excited. This is banh mi. All right, usually loaded up with cucumber, carrots, daikon, tons of cilantro, some jalapeno, some chili, and then your fillings are going to range from pate, right? Again, French cuisine, anywhere from pate to thinly sliced meats to cured tofu, and now of course it's expanded and you'll see all these types of beautiful fillings. But that is a baguette. All right, we don't see a lot of bread in Asian cuisine. Another beautiful thing that came out of French cuisine, the influence of French cuisine. Let me stop this share. Was the incorporation of these classical French techniques, right? Mixing with this bright, vibrant flavor profile of Asian tropical cuisine. So this is a very unique fusion that actually works. Remember, not all fusion works. Sometimes it becomes confusion. All right. As far as when the French came in, you know, we all know that sometimes French cuisine, they think they're the best, right? Well, they didn't want any of that Vietnamese food. They're eating theirs. Well, of course, with time and intermingling, eventually a few things are going to lay around, right? And that was when about in the 1950s, they started to get this new cuisine, all right? Where local cuisine and French cuisine were mixing, but it took a long time. All right, we're going into, we talked about banh mi. Next, we have pho, which of course we are making this week, really loaded up, as I mentioned, tons of other components that are often found in a really big bowl of pho. And then, of course, we had a lot of Vietnamese immigrants coming into Southern US. So there is a large area where we've got fishing and shrimping, right? Something that would be similar to what they're used to because they live on the water, right? So they're already able to bring their trade in and rock it out. So we've got a large influence of Vietnamese food down there in the southeastern Gulf Coast of US, which I think in Mississippi specifically has quite a large Vietnamese population, if I'm not mistaken, in certain areas. I could be wrong. As far as this, what's so unique about this is wanting to and needing the exact same spices and seeds. What do we always talk about when people travel? What do they take? They take their spices, they take their seeds, they miss their products. So later they would have people still living in Vietnam sending seeds back so they could create their own plants, grow what they wanted and eat that and have that a part of their history and continue to eat the food that they loved and were a part of even while they were in the US. All right. So another huge component of Vietnamese cuisine, as you can see, that garnish plate. Oh, guys, when we get, just so you know, I'm gonna hit you guys hard with Vietnamese food. If you get the chance, go check it out. There's so much more to Vietnamese cuisine than just pho. All right, one of my favorite dishes in Vietnamese cuisine is bánh xào. All right, now I'm gonna pull up a visual of this. When you guys get a look at this, if you're anything like me, I think you're gonna be into it. It is a beautiful crepe made out of rice. Powdered rice. All right. You see this crepe-like dish. All right. You see this beautiful light texture. It is stuffed with oftentimes pork belly, or you could omit the pork if you were not eating pork, shrimp, bean sprouts, right? And what do we serve on the side of it? What the side is, here's a good example, right? We get this big, all those fresh herbs. It is loaded up on the side of this bánh xào. All right. That bánh xào has been cooked, and then you get just a whole mound. Half the plate is full of lettuce, basil, cilantro, culantro as well, which is a slight version that is it's another of herb that's similar to cilantro, but very different in flavor profile. And then you'll have usually a little sweet and sour dipping sauce that you add that in. You wrap that banxiao up in a piece of lettuce, stuff it up with herbs, and I'm telling you, man, one of the best things I've ever had in my life. First time I introduced it to myself at a restaurant. I have not stopped getting banxiao every time I go out. It hits all the marks: crispy, fresh, herbaceous. That's what Vietnamese cuisine is really all about. Heavy hands on the herbs. That's why you're going to see that garnish bowl loaded up. It's definitely not for everybody, but that's what it is. All right. And they're finishing those dishes with herbs. Like I said, you're not necessarily putting all those herbs in to cook, but you're serving it on the side. It's also a way to balance that heat, right? You've got fresh herbs, high water, bitter notes coming in to counteract that sour, savory, umami, and salty note. All right. Another interesting area we've got in Northern Vietnamese, fish dishes are most often always served with dill, which is pretty unique when we think about that. Central Vietnamese, plethora of beef dishes that are coming loaded up with lemongrass, another ingredient we're using. And Southern Vietnam, we've got a lot more spearmint with their fish, coconut water in their stews, and cilantro in their soups. All right. So again, we're talking about that regionality. Absolutely intense, beautiful flavor profile. What's coming in, what's going on, we're putting on the plate. All right. Let's see. Woo, we got so much to go into. Thailand. All right. About 9 million people. Capital is Bangkok. Many diverse ecosystems. Thai food has had a huge influence. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with many of those famous Thai dishes. Does anybody have any ideas of some names of Thai dishes other than a Thai curry? What else?
You can just go ahead and unmute yourself, Marisol. It's fine. Shout it
Pad
out.
Thai.
Pad
Pad Thai.
Thai. Excellent. Yes. Now, what's interesting, Pad Thai actually was this whole, if you look into the history of Pad Thai, very interesting. It wasn't ever the national dish before. Excuse me. It was not the national dish until one president made it so, and then said this huge resurgence with tourism and everything, right? So if you want to get into the history of Pad Thai, it's pretty interesting. Another beautiful dish that comes out of northern Thailand, another one of my favorites. This contains curry, but it utilizes noodles instead of the typical rice, all right? And this is called khao soi. What's interesting about khao soi is that it also is usually garnished with crispy fried noodles and has a lot of fermented vegetables in it as well, either fermented mustard green or fermented bamboo shoots. So this is what khao soi looks like. Again, another stellar dish. It is, I mean, talk about heavenly. This is a curried up dish with coconut milk, noodles. Then you've got the garnish of fresh shallots, extra lime, some chilies, some herbs, and then loaded on top with extra fried noodles. Not every Thai restaurant has it, but they're starting to show up more on Thai restaurant menus. So check it out if you get a chance. Absolutely beautiful. Hopping back into a little bit more about Thai cuisine. Thailand is the only Southeast Asian country that was never colonized by a European country. All right, very unique, right? So what are we going to think? Maybe we're a little bit more stronger with our cuisine. We don't have that huge influence. We don't have that population control, right? Where it's coming in and saying, no, let's start to incorporate these ingredients. You also have quite a very difference from the north, okay, which is the northern area where I just showed you where khao soi is from. You're going to see more fermented vegetables, and you have a lot more forests and down. Then you move down into the central Thailand. You've got lots of rice, central plains, and of course, we've got that a lot of coastal region, a ton of islands as well. So fish is a huge, important component of this. Of course, we also know chilies, Thai bird chilies. If you can get a hands on those are fire, fire, fire. All right. But what do we know that they do? They balance what? Sweet, salty, and sour, right? It all comes together. So a few other things. Yes, Thailand does have a lot of influences from not only China on its east coast, but India on its west coast, right? You hop over straight up from India, boom, you're in Thailand. Just have to hop over the sea and you're right in Thailand. So we know that there's going to be a lot of influence going across. As far as street food, who's ever heard of Bangkok street food? Anybody ever heard of going to the Thai night markets? This is absolute insanity. Chef, I don't know if you've got any special ones of the Thai street food to pull up, but you might. I'm going to talk a little bit more. Let me know if you do. But it is absolute. I mean, we're talking about everything from fried squid to deep fried creatures, whatever they're coming in, tons of sauces, tons of different proteins. A beautiful array of, yes, this is the night market. Who's going? Are we eating? Because I'm hungry. What are we ordering, chef?
So yeah, so you can see right there, this is kind of what it looks like. It's just in abundance of people and just an insane amount of stuff just going on. It's not super organized. You have to be careful where you're walking because they do have like 2 aisles on the side, but there's people in the middle as well. You can see here they got these giant prawns, it looks like, which are just being grilled up. This guy's got a massive flame going. And just take a look at how many people. This is not COVID friendly at all right now. So I'm going to stay home. I'll catch you guys there in about 2 years once this whole thing settles down. Yeah, this is pretty much it right here. You're just narrow alleys with just food left and right. Wherever you're going, you see everybody. Look, take a look at these people eating. This one's like, I want some of that over there. She's ordering something. This guy's eating. That one's eating. That one has a Fuchi face, but everybody's just out eating and enjoying their time. And one thing that you'll notice when you get to these Southeast Asian countries is the nightlife. It is super different than what we have here. Here, the nightlife consists of partying and going to clubs and twerking. Over there, these people go out, celebrate each other and the food, and just really have a great time eating. It all revolves around food. And you'll see it in Thailand a lot. Let me just very quickly share my Thai story with you guys. Chef was talking about pad Thai. So there's this Thai place by my house. I went there twice. Never again did I show up in my life. The food was great, but they scared me. So I showed up. It was my first time moving to this area. It was about 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. Let me go get some Thai food. So I get there. The restaurant's actually empty, but I'm the only one ordering. So it was pretty late. I order a pad Thai. And the lady asked me, she was like, how spicy would you like it? And I was like, nah, I'm Mexican. It's fine. As spicy as you guys make it. And she was like, no, like, you don't understand. She was like, do you want it spicy or do you want it Thai spicy? I'm like, there's no difference. Like, it is what it is. It's fine. So she's like, okay, cool. So she charges me. I'm sitting there and I look towards the kitchen. It was like, they had a window there and I see a guy pass by in a gas mask. I'm like, what is going on? I'm the only one here. So yeah, so the guy had to wear a gas mask to cook my food. I take it home. I have my windows up on my car. It's pretty late. It's a little bit chilly. I'm driving home and I'm like sneezing and crying. And I'm like, what is going on? What is in my car? I had no clue that it was the food. So I put the windows down. I get home. I take the first bite. I throw it in the trash. I'm like, no, this is dumb. Like, you can't eat this. So I go back like 2 days later and the lady was like, so how was it? I'm like, you know what? Bad words to you, lady. No, I was nice about it. I was like, you know what? It felt like it was supposed to taste good. So I ordered it again. It tasted delicious. But obviously I didn't get Thai spicy that time. I was like, let me get medium. But it was horrible. It was just brutally spicy. Just driving home, I was sweating. I was like, I can't even imagine like trying to eat this whole thing.
Eyes burning, everything, right? Yeah, exactly. And you'll find that some Thai restaurants even do the competition and they'll throw a whole market like of, 10 different chilies, meaning that's Thai spicy and how hot can you go? How hot can you take it? It's total insanity. I'm sad that you had to have that experience, but I'm glad that you got it, chef. Everybody needs to go through that at some point.
Just don't order Thai spicy.
Yeah, exactly. It'll throw you. You'll throw you for a curveball. Well, on that note, let's wrap up here and then hop into study hall. We still got a little bit more to talk about Thailand, but we also want to dive into the Philippines and Indonesia. And then, of course, wrap it up tight and nice and see if we have any questions. So let's just cool it for a second and we'll catch you on the flip side at the study hall.